My name is Nickel, ohnickel, and this is 5 weird facts about Fortnite. I've actually been playing quite a bit of Fortnite Battle Royale with some friends lately, and Epic Games was actually kind enough to sponsor this video. So if you don't have Fortnite Battle Royale, you can actually download it completely for free down below in the description of this video. And if you guys do download it from there, it helps support the channel a little bit. Sometimes I squad up to play with people who watch the channel for a little Battle Royale action, so let me know if you do end up getting it. And if you guys are new to the channel, definitely hit the subscribe button and let me know which game you'd like to see next down below in the comments. But for now, let's jump right into it. So the Fortnite as we know it now actually had a really different art style earlier in its development. Epic Games, the people who developed Fortnite, gave the game a much darker horror-themed art style. An artist named Aaron Smith, who worked at Epic Games for almost 10 years, actually posted some early concept Fortnite artwork. So some of the creature ideas he had there included these 3 guys that were all very short and had really big mouths, which all look pretty equally creepy, as well as this concept that ended up being used for the brute creature, 2 creatures that are labeled flesh and runes. And then arguably the creepiest of all of these was this set here, which looks like it definitely has a very dark horror theme to it. The caption that he wrote on this image actually said, "Old Fortnite concepts from a time when the game's visual style was very different." And if you see the 2 monsters on the bottom, they're pretty much the same except that one has somewhat of a lobster claw and the other one is dragging around what looks like a blade arm. In some strange way, it kind of reminds me of the artwork from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that's featured on the covers of them, mixed with Doom concept art. But in any case, these do look quite a bit different. The studio had just spent nearly 8 years making Gears of War games, which had more of a grim, bleak look to them, so the team decided to go with something different from the established art style they had used for so long. And the art team actually stated at a panel that some of the game's art influences included Tim Burton, Looney Tunes, and Pixar. They also mentioned the fact that when they originally designed the monsters, they had a much more horrific style, but this was changed because they didn't want things to come off as repulsively creepy. And changing the art style would make them stand out even more from Gears of War. Sometimes people refer to a generation of FPS games where everything looks more beige colored, and oftentimes that's attributed to the Gears of War series, among a few other games of that time period. And this might be part of the reason why, more recently, there's been more of a shift towards more colorful art palettes and art design in a lot of modern games. At the time, Cliff Bleszinski was involved in this project, and he said that they changed the design of the overall world because they didn't want the game to feature an exhausting environment. They wanted players to enjoy their time in the world, and Bleszinski also mentioned that they don't want to be in the same space as the awesome DayZ. Which is an interesting statement because DayZ came from the same Arma modding community that spawned H1Z1 and eventually PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the game that years later Fortnite says was one of the inspirations for Fortnite Battle Royale.
At Epic, we're huge fans of the Battle Royale genre and games like PUBG and H1Z1, and we thought that Fortnite was the perfect world to build one.
So there are at least 2 very rare spawns in Fortnite Battle Royale that appear to be carried over from the PvE side of Fortnite Save the World. One of them is encountering this very noisy beehive that sits on top of a teddy bear's head. And we see this in the PvE version of the game, but instead of being on a teddy bear, it's actually on a zombie. It's one of the beehive zombies, which are zombies with beehives on their head. In Fortnite BR, when you come across the teddy bear version of this, it doesn't really seem to serve any purpose other than a distraction with all of the noise. In this clip by Julian Thoresen, we can actually see what happens when you encounter the beehive in Fortnite BR and decide to destroy it. Previously, when someone had come across this and talked about it, they decided not to destroy it because they thought that if they were to destroy it, all of the bees would come out and kill them. But it turns out nothing happens at all. He destroys it here and it just disappears. The other very rare spawn that seems to also only play an aesthetic role whenever it does decide to show up once in a great while is sometimes when you build a wall, it will have a gnome wedged inside of it. A gnome as in a garden gnome. And this seems to only happen with brick walls and doesn't really seem to serve any other purpose, at least at the moment, other than just being something cool to see because it's rare.
That guy went all the way down there. Why is there a gnome? What the? I've never seen that.
And this is an image of what the gnome in the wall looked like in Fortnite Save the World. This was posted by somebody named Chrissy X. So they pretty much look the same in both versions of the game. Fortnite is full of references to films, TV shows, music, and books, and a lot of these references are hidden in mission titles and even throughout the world. One of these references in-game in Fortnite Battle Royale is a reference to the Transformer Optimus Prime. Just north of Retail Row, you can find several cars stacked in a sculpture that almost looks human. But if you look at its head, it's very clearly a big rig truck, which, if you don't know, is the same vehicle that Optimus Prime, the leader of the Transformers, transforms into. There's also a reference to the movie The Dark Tower based on the books by Stephen King. If you order the deluxe version of the game, the PvE game, you were given a special defender with the class Gunslinger. This would be a reference itself, but what it's also referencing is the character's name, Idris, which is the first name of the actor who plays the last Gunslinger in the Dark Tower movie, Idris Elba. There are actually a few musical references in the mission titles also, like this one called Van or Astro Van, which is a reference to the band Man or Astro Man, Ride the Lightning, which is the name of one of Metallica's albums, Before and After Science, named after a Brian Eno album, Gimme Shelter, which is named after the Rolling Stones song, and Please Stand Up, which references the line from The Real Slim Shady by Eminem. While there are plenty of references to things outside of the game, there's actually something inside of the game that you can find that, at the time of recording this video, it seems like not very many people know. So for those of you that are familiar with the beginning of every round of Fortnite Battle Royale, you start off by flying through the air in the battle bus, the one that's playing music that you parachute out of. Well, you can actually find that bus on the map. If you land on the map quadrant C5 on the circular hill area, you'll actually be able to see the battle bus. Not the bus that you just jumped out of, but the one from a previous game, which for those of you guys that are familiar with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, there's also something like that in that game as well. Once you land, you can actually find a burned out plane on the map, which would be the thing that you jumped out of in that game. So the battle bus here may not be functional, but 2 golden chests spawn next to and on top of the bus. So it's definitely worth checking out early in a match to potentially gear up some high level items while most of the other players are still gathering resources and weaker weapons. It's a pretty cool Easter egg, but the more people that hear about it, the more people are probably going to try and go for it. Fortnite has actually had a very long development time. The game was originally hinted at by Epic and then officially announced with a teaser trailer way back at the 2011 Video Game Awards.
This year represents the 20th anniversary of Epic Games as a game developer, and while we've had amazing success with games like Gears of War and Infinity Blade, we decided it was time to switch it up a little bit, do something a little bit different, a little bit fun. Imagine a game in which you explore, you scavenge, you build, and ultimately, you survive. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce the trailer for Fortnite.
World premiere.
Hey, put the camera down, man. It's showtime. All right, clear! It's a team! Grab what you can! Hey, we got some good stuff, man. Hurry up and help me with these walls, man. Come on, we gotta go. Do something awesome. Hey, we gotta turn on the generator! Oh, here they go! The generator's now!
Initially, it seemed like there was a lot of excitement as the game was being developed by the developers of the massively successful Gears of War series, and even though the trailer didn't show off very much, what it did show was the huge departure from the art style that I mentioned earlier. And while Gears of War was famous for its gray, brown, and beige landscapes, Fortnite was a colorful detour into something completely different. So when the game went totally quiet for years, people were concerned. And one of the main reasons for this was how little of the game actually existed when it was announced. After years of silence, on the final day of E3 2015, Epic Games' Mark Ryan conceded that they announced it too early. Another reason for the long development cycle may have been the personal upheaval going on at Epic at the time. Longtime face of the company, and the man often credited for Gears, Cliff Bleszinski, otherwise known as Cliffy B, left the company after 20 years. And at that point, Cliff was very well known in the shooter community, having also been a part of Epic during the Unreal Tournament era. So after almost 6 years from the initial announcement, Fortnite launched into early access in July of 2017, with a full release coming sometime in 2018. Way back in 2011, Engadget.com wrote an article about Fortnite where they said that they cornered Cliff Bleszinski on the VGA red carpet to talk about Fortnite, and he told them that it would be very different from the Gears of War series. He was quoted saying, "There's no dude bros in it, not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But creatively for the team, Gears has been amazing for us, but it's kind of fun to stretch our wings and do something that's a little different from the usual." They also mentioned that Epic's Lee Perry was the project lead on this, but Bleszinski said that it was a project that was pitched internally. I was a staunch supporter of the idea because the game is just like a no-brainer. I was like, yes. The game that Cliff Bleszinski ultimately ended up working on ended up being released in 2017, Lawbreakers. As I mentioned earlier, the developer of Fortnite is Epic Games, and Epic Games are also the creators of the Unreal Engine. So as you would expect, Fortnite was made on the Unreal Engine. And there was actually a pretty strange situation going on with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds that maybe I'll go into a bit more in depth if you guys want to see a video like this about PUBG. But essentially, Bluehole, the developers behind PUBG, were unhappy with Epic's decision to make a game in a similar style to PUBG in order to gain some of the game's massive success. The counterpoint to that, which a lot of people have pointed out, is that might be hypocritical since PUBG wasn't the first Battle Royale game, nor did they license the movie Battle Royale, which popularized that concept of people fighting each other to the death on an island before any of these games. Bluehole Vice President Chang Han Kim was quoted saying, "After listening to the growing feedback from our community and reviewing the gameplay for ourselves, we are concerned that Fortnite may be replicating the experience for which PUBG is known," and then said that, "We have also noticed that Epic Games references PUBG in the promotion of Fortnite to their community and in communications with the press. This was never discussed with us, and we don't feel that it's right." Before that, he said that they've had an ongoing relationship with Epic throughout PUBG's development, since they are the creators of the Unreal Engine 4, the engine that they licensed for the game, which might be the reason they feel the way they do about Fortnite Battle Royale. And if you don't know what a game engine is at all, which I'm sure some of you guys don't, it's basically the set of tools that video games are made from. From there, developers use these tools to create the world, the mechanics, and everything that goes into the game. And certain engines are better at specific things. The Unreal Engine is very widely used for first-person and third-person action games. And you've probably seen the Unreal logo thousands of times without even realizing it. Oftentimes, it'll show at the start of a game you're about to play. So Bluehole used the Unreal Engine to create PUBG. So according to them, they are worried about that because Epic Games are not only the creator of the engine, but also the developer of Fortnite, which is potentially fighting for market space in the same genre, referring to Fortnite Battle Royale specifically. They also feel like it's unfair competition for a company that is a partner with them to create a game mode so similar, especially considering that Epic lead Donald Mustard name-dropped PUBG in the initial PlayStation blog post, and a lot of aspects of Fortnite fill in the gaps where PUBG doesn't, like it being a teen-rated game as opposed to a mature-rated game. But speaking about the game engine and all the controversy surrounding that, in an odd twist, Fortnite was actually supposed to be the very first game to use Unreal Engine 4. But because of its extremely long development time and the changes internally at the studio, that honor actually ended up going to Daylight, a survival action game from 2014. The final fact is that there's a myth from 3,000 years ago that in your next golden chest, you can actually put your own custom weapon for Fortnite Battle Royale if you hit the like button on this video. You could have anything you want, even your own toilet paper shooter in game, or even a pepperoni sprayer. So if you did hit the like button and you got a custom weapon in your next golden chest, let me know what it was down below in the comments. And once again, if you don't have Fortnite Battle Royale, you can download it for free via the link down below in the description. That helps the channel out a little bit every time you guys use that. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm probably going to be playing some more Fortnite with some of my friends via live stream or maybe even in some videos here if you guys would like to see some professional level potato aim. Also, let me know down below in the comments which game you'd like to see next, as in which game for a Weird Facts video. If you're new to the channel, I left some links to other videos on the channel for you to check out. But either way, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.